This video begins with Jeffy using stickers much to Marvin's annoyance. He then goes to the door and is greeted by Goodman, who wants his house payment for the month, but of course Marvin doesn't have it, and Goodman warns him that if he doesn't get his house payment by tomorrow, he's going to do this to his balls, represented by eggs in a bag. Ouch. Marvin gets depressed because once again his testicles are on the line, and he wishes that Goodman would understand what it's like to be a poor person since he's just kind of a rich asshole. He then goes to watch the stickers, much to Jeffy's offense. The next morning, Goodman wakes up in his luxurious mansion, only this time it actually isn't Goodman. It's actually Marvin, who has switched bodies with Goodman. He wakes up to see a prostitute sleeping next to him. Marvin is understandably confused until Chives the butler comes in, and Marvin tries to explain that he's not actually Goodman, and then he realizes that he switched bodies with Goodman, and that explains the prostitute. Of course, he has to pay her because, you know, that's what they like. They like money. Okay, there she goes away. That's how you get rid of them. Marvin tries to explain to Chives that he's not actually Goodman, but he doesn't believe him, and he expects the punishment of 1,000 spankings because that's what Goodman normally gives him, except Marvin is not going to do that because he's a nice guy, making Chives surprised, and yet he's happy. He's suddenly in love with Marvin Goodman. Chives then gets a bath ready for Marvin, which reveals that Goodman doesn't actually bathe, he simply just goes into a tub filled with money. He even invites Chives to get in. He happily does. Meanwhile, with the Marvin body, it's actually Goodman in Marvin's body because again, that's the premise of this video. Jeffy wants to go to school, but Goodman tells him he's not going to go to school. And then Rose comes in, but Goodman proceeds to just insult Rose, and then he realizes that he's actually in Marvin's body. And he absolutely hates it. He hates being poor and bald, to which Rose reminds him that yeah, you do that on a daily basis. Ouch. At least Rose tries to comfort him, but of course this is Goodman we're talking about. Back with Marvin, Chives cooks him a very good steak, but he thinks he doesn't like it, so he prepares himself for a spanking. But of course Marvin reminds him that he's actually not going to spank him because he's a nice guy, and Chives is thrilled that Marvin is actually appreciating his steak. Marvin even offers him some leftovers, to which Chives is very happy because he usually gets fed some bad food. Richard then comes in and asks his father if he could be a big piece of shit and skip school, to which Marvin says that yeah, you can, making him the happiest boy in the world. Oh, okay, I guess that happened. Everyone likes the new Goodman. Meanwhile, Goodman in Marvin's body, aka the new Marvin, is actually miserable because he's so poor. And then Rose comes along and offers to make amends with Marvin because she thinks he woke up cranky, but of course she doesn't know that he woke up as Goodman. He proceeds to insult her and demands to be given a phone. Rose obliges and assumes that Marvin is going to call his other girlfriends, to which Goodman says that he might. Back with Marvin in Goodman's body, he's enjoying the life of a rich person. Chives offers him a champagne, but Marvin says that he doesn't want it and that he can have it, to which Chives is very happy about. Then he gets a phone call, which is of course Goodman in Marvin's body. Goodman demands to Marvin to give him his life back, but of course, Marvin doesn't actually know how to do it, and he's actually enjoying being a rich person, so yeah, you can see where this is going. He hangs up on him. Marvin is going to enjoy the rest of the day as a rich person, while Goodman gets to be miserable. Rose then comes again and wants to make amends once more, even offered to make breakfast for Marvin, but it's just Cheerios. Cheerios aren't that bad, but of course to Goodman, it's poor people food, and once again, insults Rose and insults the food, cause he's a rich person, he's not grateful for anything. So Goodman decides enough is enough, so he goes straight to his mansion to talk with Marvin. Chives answers the door, but of course, he was given instructions to not let Marvin, aka Goodman, in. So Goodman is forced to leave. All the while, Marvin is enjoying rich person life. The maid comes in and asks if she can wear underwear. Marvin is confused and asks why she doesn't wear underwear, and she explains that it's for easy access. Yep. She tells her that she can wear underwear, and he will even give her a raise. Of course, the maid wants to thank Marvin in the only way she knows. Yup, that kind of thank you. And Marvin is the nice guy and tries to tone it down a bit. So the next thing Marvin does is go to the Lamborghini that Goodman owns and take it out for a spin. Yup, he's never been in a Lamborghini before, and he goes out to drive with it. He's enjoying himself so much until Goodman shows up out of nowhere and enters the Lamborghini, telling him to take him to the house so that they can talk. So that's what they do, and they try to figure out how to get their bodies back, and then Brooklyn guy shows up with divorce papers. Ouch! Of course, Marvin explains that he and Goodman have switched bodies, and that this is all just a big misunderstanding, clearing things up, so now Rose understands that that's not actually Marvin, it's Goodman in Marvin's body. Now that that's cleared up, they can try to figure out ways on how to get their bodies back. Rose points out that there's a cliche saying that usually when people switch bodies is so that they can learn a lesson, and they're confused, so they try to ask Brooklyn Guy for help, but of course, Brooklyn Guy is in lawyer mode, so he doesn't really have a magic mode, despite the fact that he's encountered magic before, but he decides that it's up to God. Okay, so God shows up to help the characters. He admits that he switched Marvin and Goodman's body because he was drunk. Of course he is. God then asks Goodman if he's learned his lesson, and Goodman says that he now sort of understands what Marvin goes through every day. So with his lesson learned, he happily switches their bodies back. And of course, Goodman is still mean, but at least he's going to treat Marvin a little bit nicer, and even offers that he doesn't have to pay the house payment for this month. All the while, Marvin and Rose reconcile their relationship, and that even if they are poor, they at least still have each other. Aww. And then Goodman goes home so that he can have his maid thank him. There are a lot of innuendos in this episode, more than usual, but despite that, I was fairly entertained by this video, but I do have some gripes with it. Mainly the fact that Goodman doesn't interact with that many characters while he's in Marvin's body. He only interacts with Jeffy once, and he spends most of the episode insulting Rose. In contrast with Marvin in Goodman's body, he actually interacts with at least 3 characters, and he actually enjoys the rich life, and we get some pretty funny jokes with his scenes. But with Marvin and Goodman's scenes, it feels like there was just not enough. In fact, they could have used this opportunity to actually show what Marvin does for a living. Think about it, Marvin is supposedly poor, yet he can afford such a huge house, and he even does eventually pay his house payment from time to time, otherwise he would have lost the house ages ago. So what exactly is Marvin's job? It can't be Nintendo because, well, that's kind of obvious why it can't be Nintendo, so where does he work? We actually could have had a good opportunity to see what Marvin does for a living, and yet we don't get to see it. We don't see his source of income, and we don't know how exactly he gets his house payment. And because this is Goodman in Marvin's body, he could have seen it all and at least felt bad for him, a little bit more sympathy, but we really don't get any of that. It's a huge missed opportunity in terms of Goodman being in Marvin's body. Although the scenes with Marvin and Goodman's body, it can get confusing, I know. Those scenes are actually pretty fun, entertaining, and the jokes are well executed. Meanwhile, Goodman in Marvin's body is just kind of insulting Rose throughout, calling things poor, and not many good jokes. And like I said, Goodman in Marvin's body doesn't really interact with that many characters. He only interacts with Jeffy once, which I'm sure Jeffy haters would be happy that Jeffy doesn't show up in this episode all that much, but we could have had a little bit more scenes with him. I mean, maybe Goodman's Albiest or something. I mean, obviously that's offensive humor right there, but that's my kind of humor, so, you know, Logan, don't be shy. Then again, this is exactly the kind of things that got him in trouble, but hey, at least this time he's not using Nintendo characters, so he can maybe get away with it? I don't know for sure. The point is, there's a missed opportunity with Goodman in Marvin's body, but with Marvin in Goodman's body, there's a ton of funny scenes that kept me entertained throughout. And of course the scenes with Brooklyn Guy and God are the best because Poobie is God. I mean, it's a match made in heaven, literally. Oh Lord have mercy. So if I were to give this video a rating, I'd give it 4 stars. It's a decent video, but I felt like they could have done just a little bit more. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, as well as hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more content like this. If you want to go support me on Patreon, links will be provided in the description below, as well as links to my Instagram and DeviantArt pages for bonus content.